I'll just start off by saying hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly briefing. This is the once a time week that we get together, just share things going on in community and people's lives and entrepreneurial lives. And just one of the fun things that we get to do every once in a while is kind of boast about someone else's wins. And when I heard about this story about the Netflix movie that came out and you guys being producers on it, I thought like, this is a bucket list item. This is one of those items on there. So I'm going to introduce to you Nico and Katwo from Rezonate. Katwo, why don't you say hello first? And
hi, everyone. I haven't spoken English in a while, so it will be a journey for everyone.
That's great. You can speak whatever language you want to today. That's
great.
And then your business partner and lovely husband, Nico, joining us also. So I have a lot of questions about this, but I'm going to ask the most basic question in order to get started. If I search for you right now on IMDb, are your guys' names popping up underneath the film?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
Do that. Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
No, you don't have to do it right now. I'm just like, to me, when a lot of us, we get into this industry and we see ourselves as filmmakers. We want to jump in. We know that there's a big picture. We don't understand all the nuance of the industry. So there's like a bucket list kind of checkpoint. And one of them is, hey, get your name in credits. And that's exactly what you guys did, didn't you?
Yeah. You were the first one to came up. When we spoke to you a few years ago, you spoke to us about the artist, the curator, the collector, and the auteur. And we realized there's a host of different ways to get into this business. And then as we were going through, like Nico and I went to LA, we went to like the Producers Guild event. And then we realized no one has a formula for how to get into this business. Like, because what we do is like, we're in advertising, we work with entertainment companies, we work with production companies. It seems very like, oh yeah, you can just do 1, 2, 3. It's very rote. You can systemize it, but it's not, right? It's like, it takes a lot of like, what can I leverage so I can get my name under the credits so I can possibly be part of the PGA, and that just gives me like some sort of relevance to the industry. But one of the things that you said was, your job is to get something produced. And that has been the one thing in my head, like, I just need to get something out. I don't care what it takes, but it doesn't have to be the most wonderful, beautiful film I've ever made. But I just need to get on something that allows me to produce something, anything. So that
whatever it is, right?
Whatever it takes. So
yeah,
that's
so you did it. Well, I remember that conversation because the theory is this: it's like many times we want to go make our film, the big film, the thing that we've been carrying around, and we're going to spend a lot of money doing it. And it's somewhat of a wasted effort because we don't know all it takes to make a film yet. So we're spent all this time, effort, money, energy into something, and it's flops. There's no distribution. There's no understanding of how even to market it. So my advice is make someone else's movie first. Like, you be part of the process, do what you can, but learn through the process, do it multiple times. And my example is Spielberg makes Jurassic Park 3 before he makes Schindler's List. Like, he's making the film for his audience, and then he makes the film that he cares about the most. We all kind of have to live and work within that economy if you're going to get support and backing. So I love that you guys really pushed on that. We did show launcher together. That's one of our first engagement, was walking through multiple shows you did. And I know some of the programs that you had in your mind, some web series that you had, a cartoon series, and that one film. I can't wait till you guys make it about the bank. But tell people like just where that process started and what kind of inspired this moment that you knew, the Netflix movie that we're going to get to eventually. But like, what was the journey right before the Netflix film came into your purview?
So what happened was, I'm friends with a bunch of Filipino American filmmakers, and as you know, there's such a big demand for us. There's no demand for our work, and it's documentary. No one's into it, but I love documentaries. And all I know is that I can make a kick-ass deck. And all I know is that these women need someone to work on their decks and not question it and champion it. And I was like, I can do whatever it takes, like just so that if you have a deck and you have someone important in front of you, it looks great, it looks polished, it's presentable. And that's the only skill I have that I could really like, I can do it free, like whatever it takes.
Hold on, Katwo. I just want to add, but prior to this, we've been doing a lot of decks for documentary filmmakers before. So we had a lot of practice in terms of doing it. So
exactly. And I know we had the skill that a lot of the filmmakers needed. And then I eventually got in touch with this producer named Cecilia Mejia, and she's under the radar, but she's been working on Yellow Rose, which was Sony distributed it. It's about like a Filipino American singer, and Lea Salonga's in it. And then she was a producer for Lingua Franca, which was also an indie, but it landed on Netflix, and it was Isabel Sandoval is a transgender woman who has directed stuff now for like ABC and stuff, and she was just a name that kept popping up. And she was this girl from Brooklyn, and she was an NYU professor, and she was just like me. And I was like, Cecilia, whatever you need, I'm here. And she connected me, and she was just grateful that someone was like sort of paying attention to what she was doing. So I was like, whatever you need, it's the pandemic, nothing is happening, whatever you need. So she has a friend or a collaborator named PJ Raval, who is also a queer a queer person of color who was a teacher at Austin, and he was making like really hard to watch stuff like crimes against it's that stuff, but I love that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I would just like have weekly calls with her about anything, like we were just catching up what we were watching, like what her challenges were. We have probably like 6 things we constantly talk about, that we're gonna do this, we're gonna pitch this, we're gonna and I was just there to like whatever you need. And eventually this project was supposed to be like a series, and I started just creating a deck for it. And they knew that we've worked with like CNN, and we've worked
But
with
wait,
like
hold on
A&E.
before you jump ahead, because I want to just capture this, like, because you're about ready to give the secret. But just to recap what's there, what you recognize is that there was a need or understanding of a marketplace, and that understanding of where you want to go, the people you want to support, that's the driving force behind producing, isn't it? It really is.
Absolutely.
Like, they're going to make something, you're going to do all you can to be part of that. And then of course, to finally find a project you can attach to and start pitching, you were producing before they ever called you a producer. You were really kind of saying, I'm dedicated to this. That's a producer mentality before you ever really even worried about like what the credit's going to be.
Absolutely. And I think because we are business owners in a production company that is in a very different discipline, for us, it's about getting the work done on time, being very clear about deliverables. And what I've realized with documentary filmmakers, especially in the indie scene, is that projects can go on for 8 years and nothing gets done because there's just like that one thing that's not keeping them on track. And that's both like people who know how to produce work at a certain level and people who have the bandwidth to absorb that work, because there's a lot of work. Yeah.
Sure.
And
isn't that so interesting that you have a skill that you almost take for granted? You're doing it every single day, delivering. And it's one of the things, the reason we started Show Launcher as a series, and Patrick and I were invited to the Television Association to present it, was because we actually were working with clients or had been production companies that deliver all the time. Our requirement is to constantly deliver, and a lot of TV filmmakers, they don't know how to deliver. And so just to have that one skill, you're like an asset. And we often think that we have to write scripts or do something, as a director, or build some sort of like copyright material to be part of it. Like, no, you can actually just do what you do naturally, find a group of people and get things started.
Absolutely. And I think it's the ability to operationalize, and also the ability to wade through, and everyone on this call knows it. Like, you're presented with a set of ambiguous things that you just need to make concrete. And whether it's conversations, whether it's giving the director confidence of what orange should look beautifully on the poster, that's your job. It's just to lease confidence to folks who have been like in these ambiguous waters for a while. So when this project started coming through, we were just in and out when they need us, but we were there 110%. And I'm lucky because I have a team that I could delegate like the really hard stuff to, like, building the animation, building the key art, the lower thirds, the minimal VFX, it's all of that stuff. We were able to leverage what we know from, from the motion design business. There's something that was really valuable. And I am lucky that people in my community were part of this because they saw that labor. And it wasn't just
That's great.
becoming a producer, but they understood that this is at least like, I don't know, $75,000 worth of work that we were just putting in because we believed in them. We did not have an agreement. We were just like, this feels right. But we also felt very much respected. And Nico, just jump in if you want to add anything.
No, we did have agreement. It just we went over beyond.
Oh, it's a scope creep. Yeah.
Yeah. There was an agreement.
Well, welcome to that. So when was the tipping point then to say, hey, I like what you're doing, I'm happy to help, to let's sign an agreement and I want credit? Because I think there's a lot of us know how to get into films, even get paid or whatever. But the tipping point to say, like, my name's going to be up front. How obvious was that moment when that time came, or did it kind of just sneak up on you?
It was a surprise sneak from their end to us. They were like, okay, you're going to have the third slate on the film. And then Katwo, you're going to be an executive producer because you've been here with us since the beginning. And again, it's the generosity of that community to understand that this is something that needs to get done. Again, not a lot of people are clamoring for Filipino American content. So like we knew that they saw us, they saw the labor that we have. And that's why I feel like this is a story of creativity and a story of being seen and not being invisible in the process. And it wasn't just the work. It was also just listening to the producers and what their challenges were. It was also like telling the stories about our culture in different ways, with the voice that I have and Nico's voice. And it's a harder relationship to identify compared to like a client from like the agency. It's very straightforward. The scope of work is here. The work is more, I would say, emotional in a sense that, and I think every work that we have is relational, right? But like if you're so rallied around a very specific cause, it's more than just passion. It's like, how do you fight invisibility in our industry? And this was really a rallying point for everyone. So that was very, very, it was a motivating factor. Yeah.
But it sounds like not beyond just the content, there was a mission, and that mission had a purpose. So they give you guys further drive or understanding. But I kind of don't want people to hear what you're not saying. Like, you don't have to be Filipino American to get yourself into a project like this, or even think that it has to be a large major commitment. The thought process of knowing what it means to be a producer and get stuff done is available and open to us. But specifically, the takeaway I would take is that know your audience. In your case, you have a specific cause, a purpose, you fit right in, that melding in with it. Other filmmakers I've worked with to find that project and put things forward, their cause or their purpose, one is based on tech. It's just something that they were obsessed with. And so they collected it, they knew it, they had like a gathering of things that they could do something with. That tech project was so much easier for them to produce than if they were asked to make a game show. Where another group I'm working with right now is a group of, I guess for no better thing, they're just a group of entrepreneurs that have continuous entrepreneur stories, and to collaborate with them and to say, maybe a game show is the right format for it. It's that working through almost that needs plus resource equals solution mentality. And you found your need and you were the resource. So of course, boom, we have a connection, you can do it. That's what we're really navigating. That's the that where the desire and the purpose and the knowledge or the work effort gets you that producer credit and helps you make a film or whatever you're going to make.
Absolutely. And I think
Nico,
it's
yours.
also like, oh yeah, Nico.
Well, I think I was going to say that from what I remember too is internally we were discussing it, right? Because there was a lot of work, there was a lot of iterations that were way out of scope, and then but we didn't want to just, be, hey, this is way over. We need more money? But as Katwo was saying, we rallied over it, and then we're just thinking, what else can we do where it's a win-win for everyone?
Yeah.
So we kind of like, there were some side discussions in the side, but it wasn't. But I know Katwo and I discussed it, at some point, like 75% within the project, and maybe somehow we manifested it in some way, but it wasn't. I guess I just didn't want to make it feel like it just came out of nowhere. There was kind of like some push and pull a little bit here and there.
Absolutely. I mean, we were looking at our numbers and the amount wasn't going anywhere, but there are a lot of producers on this project. There are a lot of artists on this project, and it was getting harder to justify that cost. But we have a wonderful producer in New York, and he's always like, be kind but firm. So and that goes a long way, especially with like indie producers and documentary filmmakers. And we discuss this constantly with other studios as well. But it's that firmness that's also going to ground the project. That's going to put limits. I think we all know this because we come from like the creative industrial complex where like limits on creativity actually make it grow. But I think with the challenge with this industry that I'm seeing is that there's a lot of, it's almost limitless. So we come as sort of a, if we put limits, then we become the thing that pushes the project forward and forward.
It's the week after Sundance, it's interesting to talk about this because people have just gone to Sundance or other film festivals, and they see this work product up there, and it's often I get inspired. Like I watch a film or know people are in the filmmaking process, and it makes me just want to jump on every bandwagon. To be honest, I just want to be part of it all. But there's a moment where, like in all the projects, you kind of have this feeling like, am I being foolish? Like, is this actually going to get done? Or how do I know which lane to choose? And I think you probably feel a little bit like I felt. It's like, I got a little bit lucky, but then also like, I'm so glad it made it because that's something I could be proud of. I don't have to have an Oscar in my hand to get some of that stuff done. I just want that work out there and have someone have a meaning to somebody else.
Like the Hollywood game is such a different game from what we do, right? But I think for us, it was very clear that I wasn't investing on certain parts of the filmmaking process that I knew my partners were experts in. They to get to that level where Ava DuVernay's company is just going to distribute your stuff, you have to be a seasoned documentary filmmaker. And the only possible way that is to support someone like a director who is in it 110%. And can't be. We can't do that with we are on a different career path. But they give themselves 100%. These are people who know how to fundraise, and that's a completely different animal. These are the people who know people from not just grants, but like they have sessions, etc. It's a completely different world, and it's okay that I'm not part of it because I can still be a part of it in my area of expertise. But it's a different commitment. Yeah, different world, and I knew that. That's the limit. We cannot dive into that world. And yeah.
In Show Launcher, we talk about a lot of people, when they want to make content, they start with the what. And so they say, this is what I want to make. And they're obsessed by what they want to make. And then there's a gap of like between what they want to make and then, how much to spend, where the money's going to come from, what the audience is, and so on. And that gap is what you want to navigate. And in Show Launcher, we say, no, let's reverse that. What we should start with is the why I'm going to make this. And then we say, who is that relevant to? And because we know who it's relevant to, we know where that would be placed. And because where we know where it's be placed, we understand what the possibility is with revenue and timing so we can set a budget. So I have like the why, the who, the where, the how much figured out. And then I have a very small gap between that and the what we should make, and the what comes last. And in a lot of ways, your journey is following that show launcher path where like you knew the why, got involved in a project, you can see that gap filling in. So that moment didn't feel as risky because you can see that gap was small enough to say like, well, maybe some of our effort and recognition that it has to be done, that step from all we know now to getting the show made, yeah, we can get it done, or the film made. That's really great. We haven't said this yet, but it's a film. It's on Netflix. What's the name of the film?
It's called Who We Become. It was renamed during the distribution process, but it's a story about three Filipino Americans from Texas, and their experience of the pandemic and the relationship with their family, and how they talked about the racial tensions that were happening during that time. Again, stuff that people really want to watch. But
Yeah.
I guess we were just committed. Sorry, what we become. Sorry, what we become. We've just been so committed to making sure that we took care of the voices that were there. So there again, it's a labor of love. But I guess I also wanted to share was Nico and I narrowed our focus. We want to work with a specific producer because we believe that like she's the next best, and she really is. But it's no longer about like, let's hit up this person from so and so. It's just really focusing on that one person we felt like really needed our support. And yeah, we got really, really lucky because she also turned out to be a spectacular friend.
Ryan Summers is hearing me say show launcher, and he's calling it Sherlock. So Ryan,
Sorry,
for you,
it sounded
it's
like
called
Sherlock.
show
Still
launcher.
launching. Well, it sounded like a Mister
Yeah.
to me, so maybe I was hearing Sherlock. Show launcher, good to know.
Show launcher. And it was a program actually started by Patrick Jager, who was at RevThink for a while, and then the two of us worked with NAPI, the Television Association, to teach others how to do it, and which finished in a program called Pitch Day, where we were able to take 15 people through their pitching to television and film professionals, and get some of these stuff out there. And it's just a great process of what it really takes, in the mentality process of moving from the what, starting with the what, to starting with the why, and why it makes the difference. And Nico and Katwo, we did that together with some crazy ideas you guys had. It was really great to like start in that program. And I want to say, like, just by doing that exercise, those aren't the shows that are on Netflix right now. It just got you into the thinking of how to make decisions properly, and so that you personally can navigate yourself through that process, I guess.
Absolutely. The job is to get something produced. That's it. Whatever it takes. And it also made me realize like this is really an investment in the long run, and it's not gonna, it's something that we know is not gonna get fixed in a year, or like we'll put this in a position maybe in 5 years, maybe 10 years down the line. But it's like, it just gave us the right mentality, just get it produced. I'm sorry. So the name of the movie is Who We Become. I have trouble with it because we rebranded in the middle before it's released, but it's Who We Become.
Yeah,
Who We Become, and it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nico.
No, I was gonna say because originally it was titled Katwo, and imagine we did a whole branding with that name
for like 2 years,
and
they're like,
then it got changed.
So we're still sorry.
Were you guys at all part of the process when it got sold to Netflix? Were you guys part of that last step, and what the distribution was like and how that worked?
So that is very interesting. I didn't realize that once a movie is produced, it goes into like whoever are the funders, at least for this specific thing. Like for this, it was a bunch of Asian nonprofit film groups. Ava DuVernay is a big supporter of our community for some reason, because she's glorious and amazing. But I was always like looked out for Filipino American talent, and this was under her radar. And so the negotiations with her and some of these Asian American groups was something they do under, like, we were not aware, but we were just told like, hey, someone is interested, blah blah. And yeah, that was like also that they realized is that that collaborative spirit of someone looking out for you, it goes a long way. Like, just like
it's great
having
when you have
someone.
that body of people to support. When I was working with you on Show Launcher, I was also working with Annalisa, and I think I introduced you guys to her. Same thing. It was the same demographic, Filipino group, and in her case, she had one of the major TV stars from the Philippines while working with her on her roster. And again, just like trying to figure out what do you do with these resources and how do we put them together and how do we make shows or make a film or whatever. I feel for this conversation because so many of us are living out something that feels like a shadow career. Like we wanted to get into Hollywood to get our star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In the meantime, we discovered how to design title sequences or how to make show graphics or, make NFTs, whatever the thing is that we're into. And it's not what our initial step was. And it feels like a mystery. It feels like there is a sense of there's something else happening, and then they make it, and then they ask us to do our part. So I love the fact you guys really dedicate yourself to it, and that make someone else's project first mentality was to say, hey, I need to belong into something to make it happen. Yeah. When I was in Moldova last, we did a conference and we shared the stage with Jonathan Nolan and this guy, Aaron Ryder. Aaron Ryder is the producer. And when you hear Aaron talk from a production point of view, Jonathan produced Westworld and wrote and produced that stuff. But when I hear Aaron talk and I sit down with him and just have drinks with him, you can tell like there's a churn and burn. And you're right, there is like his brain with all the practice can see who it belongs to, what the finance is going to be, who he's going to call. So when you talk to him, he's doing these conversions. And I think that's what we have to understand is that we really believe if we pitch hard enough and gosh, golly, they'll love us, we can make a film. That's not what makes films. What makes films is stuff that gets onto Netflix, and it has to get on Netflix because it has an audience, and has an audience because you recognize the audience, you made something for them. And that's the mechanism I want everyone to kind of know is like you actually have one of the greatest talents ever. You can deliver, but there's this one conversion. If you can do it, you can have a totally different conversation the next time you go to Sundance. So I love that you guys like you bought into it. You are dedicated to actually making this content.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. The movie is shown in American speaking markets only. So yeah, we can't even watch it in the Philippines.
Oh really?
VPN is your friend. Oh yeah, it's in.
Yeah, exactly. Do we maybe we'll have like a screening? Maybe we can't do this. We would never have a screening where we'd VPN and watch this. We would never do that. No,
never.
We wouldn't.
No.
Maybe a private screening. You can maybe arrange a private screening for us, Katwo, and have your production team show us something, so we don't have to do it that way. Listen, I'm so proud of you guys. It's so great to have you part of the community, to hear your voices, to know that it actually takes dedication, understanding, and desire to make something happen. But to get out of just the day-to-day tour position that you're in, making stuff for other people, and move beyond in your career to start reaching something greater, the next one's going to be much easier, isn't it? You're starting your collection already. You got one in your belt. The next one's going to come a lot easier. Yeah. That's our desire.
One of the things that really resonated with us when from you, Tim, was really the idea of letting stuff go and not being so precious with the stuff. And I think that's helped us both in just our current work with our clients and not being so precious with what we're creating, knowing that it's for them. So that's been really, really helpful.
Yeah. There's like a freedom that comes, huh? Like it's not your whole identity, what you're doing, and you can get something done. Yeah. There's so many great things to learn as we get into this thing. So, well, again, love you guys. Thanks for being part of the weekly briefing. And thank you all for being part of it. It's great to have you part of our community, part of this conversation. We do get these conversations from community. So if you're in community, if you're part of this stuff and you have ideas or things you want us to talk about, we're happy to put that here in the weekly briefing. And I just want you to know like what we have going on here, the way we're growing and learning and from each other. I really appreciate you being part of all that. We exist so that you can thrive in business, life, and career. And that's why we show up every week. So we'll see you next week. And Nico and Katwo, we'll see you guys later in the city.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
you so much.